Hi everyone, this is Katrina. I'm back with part 2 of my presentation from LEAD 3. This is the second part of a 3-part screencast on improving teacher collaboration. Part 1 discussed some strategies for developing strong teacher leaders. Part 2, the current one, will now focus on building collaboration structures. Let's go ahead and dive into part 2. So when we look at building strong collaboration and collective teacher efficacy, it's important that we have a clear plan and process for collaboration so that time is leveraged. It's critical, high impact time. Some core ideas around this are that uniform agendas and deliverables can help create a school-wide language and set common expectations for all grade levels. Another key idea is that we want to make sure planning that's happening during collaboration is transferring to classroom practice. And then we want to keep in mind that these agendas or tools that are created are living documents. We want them to evolve and change and be the most effective tools possible. And then finally, it's important to remember that feedback on collaboration documents can really help push the thinking of the team. We'll dive into each of these in depth. To begin with, we will talk about the structured agenda we use at Castle. It is a lengthy agenda. We do have extended collaboration time, so there are several components. I'll go over 3 main parts of our agenda. Please keep in mind that everything is scalable. Look at pieces that might work for you and your team and pick and choose what would be highest impact. Please keep in mind that these were developed at the beginning of the year. We developed several tools for collaboration because we wanted to maximize that time, and we gave them to staff. We communicated that we wanted feedback and would continue to revise these tools to make them useful. In retrospect, we should have taken the time at the beginning to develop these collaboratively. The newest version we have, however, was revised by a school team, but again, I really do recommend working with a team to develop an ideal agenda so that you have that buy-in from the beginning. So let's take a look at part 1 of our agenda. I consider this the setting the stage component, parts 1 to 3. This piece really sets the stage for an effective goal-driven meeting and gives teams time to reflect on successes and identify solutions to challenges. In this part, our team identifies norms. You'll see the norms for our school listed here. They assign roles so that everyone has a job, and those roles can rotate except for the facilitator. They set goals for their meeting. They review feedback and notes from the previous agenda that is usually communicated from one of the principals. And then they just reflect on the week at a glance, looking at what went well and what was a challenge. And this is just a really quick piece of their agenda. The next piece of our agenda, parts 4 and 5, are really the meat. It's the planning and data piece. So the rationale for this is it really focuses our meetings around data and really targets backwards mapping and alignment to assessment for strong first instruction, which we know is critical. So I'm not going to spend much time on the data review because that will actually be addressed in part 3. There's enough content to really dive deep in that. Teachers do have a couple of things they could work on. We have a student work calibration protocol and a common formative assessment protocol. We actually have a third protocol for our benchmark or interim analysis that is not linked in because we're working on revising it, but that will also be addressed in the third screencast. Looking at the planning piece, this is really where the backwards mapping comes into play. This piece includes a breakdown of the standard. You can see at the very top, we have the standard. Our teachers look at common formative assessment. That could just be a simple exit ticket or a very, very short quiz. They create an exemplar based off the formative assessment, an exemplar created by teachers so that the learning targets are clear. And then they identify key skills that are revealed by that exemplar in question, really breaking apart what must students know and do to be successful. This information is taken to plan that first best instruction where they look at a week sequence of instruction, identify objectives, vocabulary, leveled questions, looking at CASP stems, process steps, identifying perfect problems for that gradual release, and then looking at progress monitoring tools, and language frames. All of these pieces are used to really, again, have that strong first instruction and backwards mapping. The last piece, or part 3 of our structured agenda, is really what I call the wrap up. This is a chance to provide closure and promote reflection and goal setting. This is where we really get the idea of that transfer into the classroom, and it sets the stage for the next meeting. So you'll see the different pieces. We have a short nuts and bolts piece where grade level reminders can be, where questions for administration can be listed, and then those will be answered on the document. It's also an area where they can identify support they need from coaches. That could be a model lesson, a co-plan, co-teach, resource support, etc. The next piece is a reflection and goal setting. Looking at our school's purpose, breaking barriers, building futures. Teams identify a grade level goal. This is a goal that we would expect to see transpire in all classrooms. It could be a think aloud strategy they've all agreed they want to share and use and perfect in all classrooms. It could be a set of DII process steps, etc. But that's something that I would read about and I would look for in the classrooms to look for that grade level consistency and transfer of collaboration into the classroom. And then they set a personal goal for instructional practice, something that they really want to work on for the week. The last piece is a wrap up. They talk about goals for the next collaboration and look at what they should bring to the next meeting and reflect on the norm that they selected to focus on. The very end, we try to embed a coach and lead teacher debrief so the lead teacher gets some feedback on how they facilitated this meeting. If that doesn't happen during collaboration, the coach tries to find time throughout the week to talk to them and give them feedback. Just a quick little bit on the organization of our collaboration document. All of our grade level agendas are stored on Google Team drives. I know several teams use Google Classrooms as well. We have a drive for each team, and we're able to go in as admin and go through the documents and leave different comments, which I will talk about next. So a critical piece of collaboration is giving feedback. We can't be in every collaboration every week, and so every week I look at about half of the collaboration documents and I try to leave just a few pieces of feedback. It helps me stay in touch with what planning is going on. It helps me know what the goals for the teams are so I can look for certain things to be evident in all classrooms. And it also helps push the thinking of the team and also the team leader. So some of the feedback that I leave includes providing resources. I might see that there's a lesson addressing a certain skill and I might be able to connect the team to some other resources. I may ask for clarification if something's not clear. I may ask a probing question to get the team to think a little bit differently or to guide them in a different direction. And I may also celebrate wins. You can see I've left some comments on this agenda just to help support the team. So this is really important. Again, it pushes the thinking of the team and it provides support. I really want to emphasize the idea of iterations. Our agendas are living. We want them to be the sharpest tool, and we want to reflect on how they're working for teams. So this is our process. We develop a prototype, we introduce it and implement it, we monitor and evaluate, we reflect, seek feedback, and then we repeat the process. We had an issue this year where we created that first agenda without other team members. We noticed planning was looking superficial and we were wanting more depth. And we noticed teachers were commenting that parts of the agenda just felt like checklists. And obviously that's never our intention. We want it to be effective. So we sent a survey out asking teachers what's useful, what's not. We conducted a collaboration committee to review the importance and rationale of different items on the agenda, have them review data from the survey, and then make edits. And that team was comprised of leads and teachers. And then we presented these changes at a staff meeting with our collaboration committee presenting. And now we have our iteration 2. Both iteration 1 and 2 are linked in the toolbox. Feel free to look at them both, but I would recommend really focusing on iteration 2 but it is important to think of these documents as living and looking to make them better. Just some key shifts from iteration 1 to 2 with our agenda. We really focused on including a teacher-created exemplar to make a clear learning target. That was taken from our work with University of Virginia Partners Leading Education with our workshop with Paul Bambrick Santoyo. That learning target really helps teachers understand where instruction needs to go and helps them see the skills more clearly than just reading a question. We also took our backwards mapping and included a daily plan because teachers felt like the general backwards mapping was too nebulous, so we wanted to bring more order to that. And then finally, there's a deeper dive into assessment question deconstruction. We always had our teachers look at assessment questions, but it was more of at the beginning of a unit of instruction. Now we want them to look at them every time they plan and break down what students have to know and be able to do. And then again, create an exemplar of that assessment question answer so that the learning target and process is clear. So as we conclude, this is a good time to pause for reflection. What key ideas about collaboration resonated most with you? I'm curious, what practices have you implemented or what would you like to try? And this concludes our step 2, improving collaboration structures. The next piece will be designing protocols for data analysis, and that will be the final component of this screencast. Thanks so much for listening. Don't hesitate to email or call me with questions. And remember, every tool I talk about is linked at the end of the presentation in the toolbox.